Hey, we're live. Cool. Try to figure this out here real quick. All right. Live. All right. So the TV to turn off. All right. Something on the phone. Right? Okay. Easy difference though. That was fucking silence before. That works too. Okay. I got that up so I can reply. Not that I expected people being here while I'm actually watching it and reacting to it and discussing it, but it's whatever. Now, I'm just going to say this off the hop. This is a topic that is an important topic, but also a very controversial topic, and easily gets people called Nazis, racist, homophobes, and all the other little crap people want to call you. However, what I will be talking about and reacting to on this video is some of in the disingenuous arguments, some of the, well, this is what the question is, but I'm going to answer a question that's, over here. I'm going to talk about something that's over here, not actually answer the question that's being posed. And I mean, it's it's a however, first off, I will say this. The title of it is completely wrong. But again, that's just me. I'm a straight male. I'm a male, not a cis anything. I don't need a different description for what the hell I am. Never have needed it. Don't need it now. If you're trans, that's fine. If you're straight, that's fine. If you're male, you're female. You're male or female. You're not cis. It's you just are what you are. But anyways, that's a different argument, so we'll leave that alone for now. All right, let's see what they got to say, I suppose.
Hi, my name is
Hi, my
Howard.
name is Howard.
I've been a swimmer for 13 years, and currently I'm on the UCLA track.
Hold on. Something completely went wrong there. It's fine. I mean, I'm not upset. I'm still figuring all this out. So, go ahead do that. See if that fixed it. Maybe. All right, let's try this again now.
Hi, my name is Howard. I've been a swimmer for 13 years and currently I'm on the UCLA triathlon team.
My name's Jing and I've been swimming for 11 years.
Hi, I'm Lexi. I've been playing indoor volleyball for 7 years. I've been playing beach volleyball for 3 years.
My name is Afton. I play women's flat track roller derby, and I've been playing since the end of 2018.
My name is Mac Beggs. I'm a wrestler. I've been in combat sports for 8 years.
My name is Sydney. I played tennis growing up for 13 years, and now I am a fitness coach.
It's no secret that the food industry has been going through
Yeah, go away.
Trans athletes have an unfair advantage. Step forward if you agree.
First question posed, real simple answer, yes. Males or females transitioning to males are at a disadvantage. Males that are trans females are at a huge advantage. I mean, again, nothing against women because women can beat men in sports. It does happen. That's not to say that it can't happen and it won't happen. It does happen. Though typically they're at a disadvantage, which is why women have which is why we have different categories now. Which is why sports has been separated into male and female. Also, there's plenty of studies out there that have proven it, but when you go through puberty as a male, denser bones, larger lungs, more air capacity, larger heart, just your muscle fiber is denser. I mean, there's so much that you get. Even if you go on to hormone therapy by transitioning, you still have an advantage. It's still there. It doesn't matter if you take away the testosterone. The body's already went through puberty and built those building blocks. They're still there, which is why, like, if you watch MMA, the trans fighter just destroys the other women. Like I'm not gonna say cis, but the natural born women destroys it. It's brutal to damn well watch. Also, take Serena Williams and her sister. Best women, number one in their sport. Both of them have admitted that, like, they can't really compete with, like, the top 100 of their male counterparts. Like, they can't beat them. I mean, and Serena and Venus, it's not like they're slouches. They've got good body builds. They're very muscular. They're very quick. They have endurance. They're top of their sport. They admit flat out, say it themselves, they don't want transgender in the sport. Not competing on the women's teams anyway, or competing in the women's division anyways. And they, even in interviews, they've said they can't beat the top 100 men. It is what it is. Now, personally, I think, also, just like going back to the argument, the whole reason of why women's sports was originally started is to give them a fair playing field to where they're only competing against women. Look at the Olympics just recently. Powerlifter. Trans one came in and set a record that no woman has even come close to. Like, it's just unfair. It's not like that trans woman has the build, muscle structure, bone structure, heart, lungs, everything of a male. Like, you can say that your gender is female. Gender and sex, you want to separate two, that's fine. But don't ignore that you separated those two when you start arguing about this type of stuff here, because we're not talking about gender, we're talking about sex. This was set up for women, this was set up for men. It's not going off of social constructs. It's going off of even playing fields. So what should be done is they need to make a trans category for sports. And let them compete in their own category where the women aren't losing out. Like, oh, what was it, a year ago? Maybe not even that long ago. Where the women, I want to say women, girls, younger girls, getting ready to go to college. I believe it was basketball. It may have been some other sport. But the trans women competed and blew those women out of the water, negating them out of women athlete scholarships. Like, that's, you know, I mean, it is what it is. Not to mention, it leaves open a door for abuse, which is another thing that people don't want to talk about. Sorry, but you can see me right here. I have long hair, right? So, you know, granted, I'm way past my days of trying to play sports or anything like that. But that doesn't negate the fact that having long hair and whatnot, if I was in my prime, okay, I can't compete with the males. Well, I identify as a woman, so now I can compete in the women's division where I can dominate. I do that for a few years. I don't transition my body because, well, I don't, whatever you want to use the excuse as, I don't have the money for it, or I'm worried about the surgeries, or, you know, whatnot. But I identify as a woman, so I can compete in the women's division. I dominate, get sponsorships, I get all the money. Well, 6-7 years, my career's hitting its twilight, you know, whatever. Get out of the sport, have all the money, have all the accolades, whatever. All of a sudden, I figured out that that I truly am a male. So, for 5, 6, 7 years, 8, 9, 10 years, whatever, I've just been basically cheating women out of their opportunities because I identify as a woman. And again, that's not to say that the majority of people are going to do that or the majority of guys are going to do that. But it can happen. It probably will happen. But again, that's neither here nor there in this particular. Well, I mean, it does pertain to this discussion, so there is that. But like I said, it's things to be aware of. I mean, it is what it is, and it's nothing against trans athletes. Got nothing against them. Just like I have nothing against neutral bathrooms. Okay, if you want a neutral bathroom where men and women share, cool. Did my time in the service. I've been in showers and bathrooms with women, whatever. Some people can handle it, some people can't. That does not mean that I believe that a trans person should just automatically be able to come into a women's bathroom. That's a woman's space. It's their space to, you know, they need to feel safe. Now, again, you know, I understand that it comes down to a hard point in that topic because if you dress like a woman, you got long hair like a woman, you look like a woman, you're a trans woman, you've transitioned, but you haven't had the surgery. Well, if you still got your dangly bits down there, yeah, you really don't belong in the women's bathroom, but I understand where some of the arguments coming from is, and they're not really safe in the men's bathroom. I get that. Which is also why more places need to have individual bathrooms or neutral bathrooms to where, yes, male and female. But again, these are things that we really need to actually be discussing and not trying to shame people and shutting up for their opinion or this opinion, or because they go off of facts and studies and that show actual proof. Damn, I don't know where the hell it went. That's okay. It wasn't lit anyways. But again, that's like I said, that's neither here nor there. in a lot of the aspects of what's going on, because these are discussions that need to be brought up, need to happen, and it doesn't need to be a, oh well, you're a male, you're a female, so your opinion doesn't really count. Well, no, it does. Like, telling somebody their opinion doesn't matter or count because they're male, female, trans, not trans, gay, not gay, that's stupid. Like, everybody's should be able to voice their concerns. Everybody should listen. There should be an actual civil dialogue about it. We should figure this out. I mean, just like there's something that goes on that the community, LGBTQ community doesn't want to talk about, trans community doesn't want to talk about. There are a crap ton of people that transition. I believe it's mostly, like the trans men. Honestly, I know some trans women too, but like they get older, they realize they're not trans. They transition back to their natural, to their sex. Their gender goes back into alignment with their sex. That does happen, but I don't understand why that is such a taboo or something that the community gets so irate about or doesn't want to speak about, or tries to shame you into shutting up or call you a bigot or this or that. It's dumb. These are actual things that we need to talk about. Just like trying to force it into laws to where if you like trying to force parents into letting their kids transition. Shut me down. Letting their kids transition, or doctors forcing parents into letting children transition, or parents trying to force doctors into transitioning their children. Sorry, your children. I mean, again, there's certain things, but take an 8, 9-year-old, right? Comes to you sitting in your chair, mom, dad, whichever, doesn't matter. Sitting in your chair, kid comes up, oh, I want to smoke. No, you're not old enough. You can't comprehend what that's going to do. The harmful effects of it. You really don't understand it. Same kid comes up, oh, I want a gun. You're not old enough. You don't have the responsibility. You don't have the comprehension. All these things that we tell our kids no on because they're kids and they haven't matured enough or grown enough to actually be able to make those kind of decisions. But you're telling me that when my son, daughter, whatever, comes up to me at 7 years old talking about, well, I think I'm a girl trapped in a man's body, or a man trapped in a girl's body, whatever, I'm transgender. No, you're not going to force me into putting them on hormone blockers or any of that stuff, because for one, it's going to screw them up. For two, they get old enough and decide that they're not actually trans, well, too late. I've already kept them from going through puberty. Like, that's serious stuff. So, these are things that actually need to have discussions, need to have open dialogue. And it has nothing to do with transphobia. It has nothing to do with bigotry. It has nothing to do with any of that. These are just actual concerns, things that have already come up, things that are already known, things that have already happened to other people. So, yeah, these are things that need to be discussed. These are things that need to be out in the open. These are things that shouldn't be a taboo, shouldn't be community trying to hide it or anything like that, because it's not going to help. In the long run, it's only going to hurt. I mean, it's the same thing as, here recently I've been told that, I'm transphobic because I wouldn't date a trans person. Sorry, not. I don't know how it's cool that I should abide by the way you want to live your life, and I should be completely open and okay with you want to live your life a certain way and you want to do this or you want to do that. And your preferences, are your preferences. And, nobody should be kink shamed. Nobody should be body image shamed. Nobody should be all this stuff. But you're telling me when a straight person says they don't want to date or wouldn't date somebody who's trans because not their preference, all of a sudden preferences don't matter, you're just transphobic. No, that's dumb. That's not how it works. My preference is women. That's just my thing. It is what it is. Not to mention, I love my wife to death. She already knows this. My preference in women when it comes to this, and she's not Asian, but I prefer Asian women. Don't know why, just a preference. It is what it is. But preferences are preferences. It's not something that you should be going off about or trying to shame somebody about because their preference is not aligned with your views. And also, like I said, it's really funny how that becomes an issue when it comes to you and what you're wanting or what your preferences are and who you want to date. But, their preferences, well, now, that's, their sexual preferences. You shouldn't, you have no opinion in it because, well, you're not trans and you da-da-da. Okay, cool. Same argument applies. I'm a straight male. You're not. You have no say over my preferences. It's dumb. It really is. However, let's get back to this video.
When you first think about like transgender athletes, I guess the first thing you think about is, well, biologically, transition usually happens after puberty, right? So
Something I
if
just
this
brought up.
biologically male athlete goes through puberty, he gets like better bone structure, he has all these skills that he enhances, all these muscle that he puts on, and then he transitions. Yes.
Okay, most of her argument there is actually a good argument. It's not that he puts on more muscle. Like I said, men have more muscle density, more muscle fiber. I mean, it's not that, because it's the internet age. You can go on and you can look at women bodybuilders. Women can pack on muscle too. The muscles just, they, I don't know a good way to put it really. They form different, they grow different. They're not, it's muscle tissue, but muscle tissue from a male is actually different than a female. Just like if you go to a doctor and you're trans, the doctor's not going to treat you as a natural born woman because genetically you're not going to have the same health problems that a natural born woman's going to have. You're going to have the same health problems that a genetically born or naturally born male's going to have genetically. Like your problems, your health problems are going to be male health problems, not female health problems because you were born male. It's genetically. So yeah, again, it's a whole bunch of weeds, but again, those weeds need to be ignored and people need to actually sit down and have relevant, open, civil dialogue about this stuff so we can come to an understanding with it, so we can move past it. Also, just so, my best friend growing up, gay, never bothered me, don't care, it's his life, it's whatever. I've got a bunch of bi and gay friends. That doesn't really bother me. Not really my preference, not really my thing. I'm straight male, like I said before. But the way you live your life doesn't change who I am. It doesn't affect who I am. And I'm not going to try and change who you are because it's just dumb. There's still places where being openly gay is dangerous. There's still places out there being openly trans. It's dangerous. This is why these discussions need to happen. We need to stop shaming people. We need to stop doing all this stuff, and just like the LGBTQ community needs to stop with the with the shaming and with all these other little tactics they're using, because they're not helping themselves. All they're doing is hindering themselves. Because honestly, you trying to force this down somebody's throat or not having an open discussion about it, just trying to shame somebody or calling them a bigot or homophobe or transphobe or this or that, the only thing you're doing is pushing people further away from actually accepting you. Like, you're making them dig their heels in deeper. So that when you do come up with an argument that isn't feelings but actual facts, they don't want to listen to you, because 99% of all the arguments coming from your side have all been feels, not facts. Or you argue about this and you ignore the facts, or you just plain out like act like the facts don't exist. They do. These are things that we need to change. We need to have an open, civil discussion about stuff. Anyways.
Your testosterone levels go down, but you're always just going to have that, like, things that you've gone through, like during puberty, that you have after you've transitioned. So I feel like there's always going to be that advantage.
I think it's dependent on the gender that they are transitioning to. For example, trans women do have somewhat of an advantage. Biological men are naturally born with higher bone density and larger lung capacity and a larger heart, and that's not something that can necessarily be changed with hormones. Of course, this isn't the same for trans men athletes.
For me, it's just on average, guys are typically a little bit stronger, a little bit larger, a little bit taller.
And yeah, see, she hit it on the head too. You're talking about trans males, they're at a disadvantage. They are. Because even though they went on testosterone to give them more muscle mass and give them more, their bone density, they've still got a smaller heart, they still got smaller lungs. They don't have the same muscle density, and their muscles don't grow the same as a biological male does. So even going on testosterone, while they can put on more muscle, they're still at a disadvantage, because they don't have all the same advantages that their natural born males have. They really don't. So it's a disadvantage. Again, going back to the whole talk about the MMA fighter, the trans woman, same thing. I'd say the same thing about trans male trying to get into the ring and fight males. It's gonna be brutal to watch, because again, the trans male is gonna be at a disadvantage, hugely disadvantaged. It's not gonna work.
So depending on the sport especially, it can give them a large advantage when you're looking at something like that. When it's something like swimming, having that ability to be a little bit larger lung capacity will overall affect that.
Can I have the disagreeer step forward?
And they need a better panel of
cisgender
people
men
to talk
and
about this.
cisgender women, there are naturally differences in their anatomy, in their hormonal levels, in their height, bone structure, all that stuff. Like, any cisgender woman compared to another might have a different body type. Some women are naturally very strong. If you take the advantage, which I think in most cases is the hormones, and
It's not the hormones. It'll never be the hormones. See, again, somebody coming into the discussion but talking about something that isn't the actual question, trying to go with the argument from a different argument, which is disingenuous. It's not a genuine argument. And nothing against him, but you can tell he's gay. So yeah, he's fighting on the trans side. He's gonna come up with the same arguments that the LGBT community always comes up with, and I don't have a problem with that. But this is a disingenuous argument. This is not an actual argument. He's going on hormones. I'm sorry to tell you this, You can take a guy and a girl, same size, same body type, everything like that. 9 times out of 10, the guy's going to win because he's got advantages. Like I said, bigger heart, larger lungs, more air. Generally, have better stamina. Generally, not always. Their muscle, they've got different types of muscle mass. It's completely different. So even taking testosterone to give you the hormones, still not going to put you on an even playing field with a male. It's just not. Because again, they went through puberty as a female, not as a male. I know somebody who's within my group of friends. She went through high school. She played football with the guys. And she did well. She's got a bigger body type. I mean, not anything like wrong with it. She's female. She's got a feminine body. But she's got bigger muscles and stuff like that compared to most women. And she did fine in football, but again, she's not like the other men out there on the field. She wasn't. Like even she would tell you that. It's it's crazy how they try and conflate the issue or try and ignore what the actual topic is and argue from a different point of view that where you can say, oh, okay, well, no. There's no okay to it. Because again, like I said, male, female, same body type, same build, yada yada yada. Male's got the advantages. You can put both of them on steroids. That male still has the advantage. You can put both of them on testosterone. The male still has the advantage. It's we're not talking about body types. We're not talking about social stuff here. We're not talking about gender fluidity. We're talking about unfair advantages when it comes to sports. Since the whole transgender thing blew up, which is good, I'm glad they don't have to hide. I'm glad they can be open. I'm glad, well, there's, like I said, there's still some places where it's not safe for them to be open. I get that. But, again, since that happened, and all these natural born males that are now trans females have forced their way into women's sports, they've dominated them. They've broken record after record after record. And some of these males, transgender females, that have gone into female sports consistently lost in male sports. Now all of a sudden they got into the female bracket, they're destroying the competition because they've got all the advantages. So yeah, it's no. I mean, again, we're talking about whether or not trans athletes have an unfair advantage. When you're talking about trans males, trans men, no. Trans females, yes. They were born male, they went through puberty as a male, they transitioned to female. So they still have all the advantages of body when it comes to being or going through puberty as a male. They still have all those biological and genetic advantages when it comes to that. So this is an argument, but as you can see, they step over here and talk in a discussion adjacent to what the real discussion is. So again, like I said, it's just disingenuous. It's ugh.
If you compare the blood work and you're just looking at that, if they're on the same level, in my opinion, there just isn't an advantage because when you grow up playing sports, some people are good at sports, some people aren't.
The problem I see with this argument.
Okay, again, he just went into an open-ended argument. Some people are good at civil wars, some people aren't. You're right. Take kid, absolutely horrid, has no talent, but trains 24/7 with everybody else in karate. And the reason I bring this up is I got a friend who's in karate. He's actually naturally gifted. I know his brother been training with him since they lived in Japan and moved back here. Still trains. He's good in karate. He's nowhere near as good as his brother. His brother's just naturally gifted. But that doesn't negate the fact that his brother, who isn't as good as him, can still beat, like, just wipes the floors in, like, in a competition where women in the same weight class go against him, or when they're training or whatnot, they don't beat him. He's a male. He has advantages. It is what it is. But that argument that he tried to bring up is just, that's ridiculous.
Argument is that there's a large group of people that no matter what I do in a sport will always automatically assume that I have an advantage, but they're not.
Because you do have an advantage, sir. Now again, trans woman, I get that. But again, he's trying to go with an argument that isn't, it's disingenuous. He does have an advantage. Look at his body type as compared to the women sitting beside him and across from him. We're built different. It is just what it is. Like, I mean, so annoying.
Not taking into account hours that I put into practice.
Okay, so we're going to once again go completely off of the actual topic and try and go into another side argument. Oh, well, the hours I put in. Okay. The female athletes that have to compete against you that put in the same amount of hours and you just completely outdo them, what does that tell you? That tells you you have an unfair advantage. Now, I'm happy. I'm glad you like your sport. I'm glad you want to put in the hours and all the training. That's great. That's not an argument to use against whether trans athletes have an unfair advantage or not. That's dumb.
Hours that I put into weightlifting to become a better athlete. Roller derby is probably 90+% cis women. I get my ass handed to me. Like, yes, I am tall, and I can see that can be an advantage in some sports, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee that I have an advantage.
Okay, he's also talking about roller derby. Yeah, when it's 90% females, yeah, he's probably gonna get his ass handed to him. Why? I guarantee you, probably because they team up on him, and also a lot of the women that do roller derby are bigger women. So they probably have close to, not to be rude, but they probably have 100 pounds on him. And that's not to say that there aren't smaller women that do roller derby, because there are. But in the same token, again, you put a woman that's his weight, his size, against him, one-on-one, he has the advantage. Or, well, I keep saying he. I need to get out of that habit. The trans woman has the advantage. It is what it is. It's not hard to understand. And it's not like I think they don't understand it, because I think they do. And some of them, I think, when the argument comes out, like what this trans woman is arguing off topic, I don't think that it's all, I mean, I know it's disingenuous, it's meant to be disingenuous, but I don't think it's malice in a way. Like, well, some of them probably are a little bit malice, but a lot of them I don't think have a malice towards their argument. It's just that, I mean, again, you're talking about a group of people that have been, for years, had to hide. You know, they couldn't be open. They couldn't be out in, you know, out about it. So I think a lot of that stems from that. But like I said, we need to get out of those weeds. We need to actually have a civil, open discussion and not try to put feelings before facts, or, you know, and not try to change definitions, not try to change the way medical stuff works. Sorry, the doctor's not, when you're born, The doctor isn't being a bigot. He's not being a transphobe. He's not being whatever because he looks at the baby and says, "Oh, well, male." No, I'm sorry. They're not looking at a social gender. They're looking at a sex gender when you're born, which is male or female. And I know people bring up the argument about, oh, I forget the new name for it, but anyways, hermaphrodites. And no, that is not a slur. It's not a negative word. It's a medical term. It's always been a medical term. Somebody who's born with male and female parts. That's not normal. That's actually a mutation. It's a genetic mutation. That's not a normal thing. Oh, actually, I remember now. Intersex, I think, is what they call it now. But whatever your terminology for it, it's not a normal thing. And I get the fact that, yeah, people want to try and make it a normal thing and this and that because of the stigma on it. And I get that. I really do. But in the same token, you can't just throw medical facts out the window. It's a genetic anomaly. I mean, it's no different than that right there. And I don't know how well you can see it with this camera, but I have a mole right there. It's a mole. I mean, that's not anything bad. It's not anything whatever. It's just, but it's not a normal thing. Like, some people have moles, some people don't, but it's not a normal thing. And I forget the actual term for it medically at the moment, but yeah, it's the same thing. It's takes people who are born with longer tailbones. It's a genetic anomaly. It's not a normal thing to actually have your spine go that far down and give you a tail. We're not supposed to have tails. We're not. And again, I get it. It is what it is. But again, that's a disingenuous argument. So
what we usually hear in the news and politics and stuff is about trans women just because they're in so much prominence because they are winning. Like, I can't remember what her name is right now, but she was a power lifter. She is a power lifter. I think she went to Tokyo Olympics, and she's transgender. And they're winning by a large amount of weight.
If you truly believe that trans women have an advantage, even with hormones, then that means you truly believe that trans men have a disadvantage, even with hormones. So
yes, you are very accurate in that statement. That is a very true statement. Transgender males are at a disadvantage when it comes to them trying to compete in a male sport. Sorry, they are. The facts don't lie.
So the argument that you hear most of the time is against trans women. So does that mean that you're okay with trans men having that disadvantage?
When I was going through high school.
No, I'm not okay with trans men having that disadvantage. Again, which is why I said at the beginning of this, I think we should bring in another category, or two more categories. A category for trans men and a category for trans women. Let them compete in their own field, to where there's no unfair advantage or unfair disadvantage. Again, even playing field. I mean, I don't know.
I wrestled against females. I had to suppress both my hormones in my body, and I was still able to beat the men too, with my levels low. And I cut 15 pounds a week. That was crazy.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. The body is a shell, and what we do every single.
Okay. He's talking about he was losing weight. He put himself on hormone blockers. And he lost to women, which I'd love to actually go and look at his record and see how many women he actually truly lost to. Natural born women it was. But yes, I will say he probably is right. If he was that young and started doing the hormone blockers before his puberty hit, yeah. Because guess what? His bones didn't get denser. All the advantages of male puberty, if he kept himself from going through male puberty, he didn't get those advantages. So, yeah, I can see that very easily. And him beating the other men. Well, okay. Again, same body weight, same whatever. Yeah, comes down to technique, endurance, whatever. He probably had that over those other guys. Who here would like to see? I forget his name now. Anyways, take I forget his name. It's a little Spanish dude. The welterweight, featherweight champion. Well, probably champion years ago because I haven't watched boxing in a very long time. But you put him into the ring with a heavyweight like Mike Tyson. Does anybody in their right mind believe that's going to be a fair fight? At all. I mean, if you can say yes with a straight face, more power to you. But you know that's not going to be a fair fight. I mean, that lightweight's going to get his ass handed to him. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. Like he's at a huge disadvantage. Now, is that to say, oh, he couldn't win? No, he could. But he'd have to take all his disadvantages into account and try and overcome all the advantages that the heavyweight has. He'd try to stay out of his reach. His best bet is going to be to wear him down, make him get tired to where he can actually get in there without being worried about being knocked for a loop. I mean, it is what it is. Just like, but yeah, dude, like no lightweight's gonna want to get into the ring with a heavyweight, dude. That's dumb. Like the disadvantage for that lightweight is so astronomical. Like they don't want to do that. It's not to say they couldn't get in the ring and fight them, because they could. But they would have to fight in a totally different mindset. They'd have to fight in a totally different manner. And like I said, it wouldn't be a straight up fight. Because for them to win, they're going to have to wear down their opponent. Like, just keep moving. Try to stay out of their way. Just get them to the end rounds to where they're tired, they're exhausted, they can't, that's, it's, But again, like, I think that's a disingenuous argument because he's talking about in high school where people are still going through, or junior high school. People are still going through puberty. People are still, like, as your body is still growing, your bones are still getting that density that they haven't got yet as a grown man. So yeah, can that happen in school? Yeah, sure. Because again, you're still in the process of growing and getting all those advantages from going through puberty as a male. So yeah, I mean it's possible it could happen because again, that's back in school before he was actually fully through puberty and fully developed. So yeah.
Day in the practices and the life lessons that we get living 40 years on this earth. We just try to live life the best we can.
Yeah.
Trans athletes should have a separate category in certain sports.
In all sports.
Students with ADHD save 10 hours studying with this Chrome extension. But
not some sports. And I get the fact, say Olympic shooting. Yeah, it's a firearm. It's a rifle. There's no it comes down to training. It comes down to conditioning. It comes down to Now, do males still have some advantages? Yes. Again, larger lung capacity. Bigger heart means that after running and then coming up to your shooting post, you can steady yourself quicker than most would. Not to say that all women, but most women. So yeah, for me, and not only that, it's not only that, but it also, like, honestly, it's not a some sports. It's going to be all sports, because if you try to do it with some sports, well then, you know, then you're gonna have people saying, "Oh, well, it's this, it's that, it's bigotry, it's racism, it's this, it's phobias, it's that," because you can let us compete, with everybody else in these sports, but not in these sports. So yeah, no, it should be every sport. That just that just clears up every conceivable argument. It should be male, female, and then transgenders. Because, like, so instead of being two categories, it should be four. I mean, honestly, if that's the way you want to go with it, cool. Like, I understand it. I don't think that transgender should have to hide. Whatever, live your life the way you want to. It's your life. I've got no say in your life. What I do have a say in is the fact that mm, it took women how many years to get their rights? It took how many years to get their own separate sports and separate divisions to where they had the same opportunities as the males did in a level playing field where they're competing against other women or natural born women. So yeah, I mean, again, yes, it should be four categories now. Like, and I don't even see how the trans community can argue with that, except for the fact that their arguments are disingenuous. Because, like, they argue for their rights and to be acknowledged and this and that, but in the turn around telling women, natural born women, to fuck off. Okay? So all your arguments are disingenuous, and you can fuck off. Like, I mean, if that's the way you really want to keep arguing this, then go back into the closet, go back into hiding. Because you're trying to do the same thing that you're bitching about that was done to you for years, to where you couldn't live as who you are, you couldn't be out in the open or whatnot. And now you're trying to push women out of their space. That is the dumbest thing to me. I don't understand how they can say with a straight face, "We're just trying." No, you're not trying. You're. So the only reason that you'd have a problem with them setting up a uh, trans female and trans male category is if you want to be in the category of females, natural born females, so that you can dominate. Like, if that's your goal, cool. But be honest with it. Like, don't lie about it. Don't try and have disingenuous arguments. Be honest. You like winning. You want to get sponsorships. You want to get this. You want to get that. Okay, cool. So you want easy victories. I get it. You want to set world records that you know women can't touch. Cool. I think that's dumb. Again, you don't really have an argument in the fact of, oh, well, it's not being fair or it's prejudiced against you because people or the gaming commissions want to start up a trans male and a trans female category. No. That's not biased against you, because quite literally they're giving you a fair, even playing field. You'll be competing against other trans females, or you'll be competing against other trans males. It's completely fair. Again, same reason why females got their own division in sports, because it made things on an even, fair playing field. It gave them the opportunities that they weren't getting beforehand. and which are being stolen from them or taken from them, whichever way you want to look at it. Now, kind of like I said, the actually it may have been track. I think it may have, I don't think it was basketball. I think it was track. But three women that were top of their thing, top of their events, top of their school for female stuff. And the transgenders got pushed into being allowed to compete in the women's division. And these women that were the top tier of their sport lost to the trans females by bounds, by leaps and bounds, and they lost out on scholarships. So again, it's not being fair. There should be there should be two more categories added in to where it puts everybody on a level playing field. You're a trans female, you get to compete with other trans females. You're a trans male, you get to compete with other trans males. Males compete with males, females compete with females. It's pretty simple. I mean, I don't understand the argument against it. It's dumb and disingenuous.
I don't want to say that they should be in a completely different category just because socially and legally, yes, they are that gender that they transition to.
Okay, see, again, this goes back to what I said earlier. She's saying socially and genderly. This is not a gender thing. This is a sex thing. Male category, female category was not made for a social gender. It was made for the sex, for what you were biologically born as, male or female. Because again, males inherently have have an advantage over females. And again, that's not to say that females can't beat a guy. Yes, it does happen. It has happened throughout history. It does. On a general note, it doesn't. And that's just on a general note. But again, you take the trans the trans woman who's powerlifting. Again, never even ranked when he was competing as a male. Never. Couldn't compete with the males. Pretty big dude. Well, I should say she's pretty big now because he's trans female. Anyways, because of the way all this is muddled and whatnot, and because of the stigma and all the social justice bullcrap, allowed to compete in the female category now, where this trans woman dominated. And it has nothing to do with, do a thing, all the hours I put into training. These women powerlifters have been training their entire lives. Their entire lives. For doing this, for doing the for doing the female powerlifting, for the Olympics, for this, for that. They've been training their whole lives. Like, they train daily for this. This is what they train for. To powerlift. And the top of female powerlifters, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I had to go and look it back up. But anyway, he outlifted them in the Olympics by leaps and bounds. By leaps and bounds. Like, it wasn't a couple pounds. We're not talking about, no. This trans woman set a record in the women's division that probably no woman will ever hit. Like, again, it's not a small gap. We're talking about a very large difference in what the natural born females did and what the trans female powerlifter did. Big differences, not just, it's only 5 pounds, or it was, no. We're talking about major difference in what this trans woman lifted compared to what the natural born women were lifting. So again, yeah, it flat out shows the fact that that a natural born woman doesn't have is at a disadvantage when it comes to somebody who went through puberty as a male. It just, again, I really don't get the argument because, like, like I said, there's no real argument for the female athletes and the other people that are calling for the gaming commissions and the school boards and all this stuff to set up two more divisions where you got male, female, trans male, trans female divisions for sports. Again, there's no real reason for an argument there. It's setting everybody on an equal playing field. It's nobody's going to have an advantage. Nobody's going to, So again, I don't. Like I said, it's. Anyways, yeah, it is what it is.
And putting them in another category just seems, from hindsight, it seems wrong. But as an athlete, like in the sporting world, it just does seem a little bit unfair if you classify them under the same group, I guess.
Yeah, I think that there definitely are some sports where your physical ability makes a much larger impact on the sport itself. Wrestling would be one of them, swimming, track, something like that. But if you look at NASCAR as a sport, I believe that anyone can then go and do that sort of sport because that's...
No, anyone can't go and do that sport. Danica Patrick is one of the few females that actually raced in Formula One and raced in NASCAR. And again, that comes down to the advantages of going through male puberty. Now, she's a female. She's actually a great driver. But her body can handle the G-forces of that sport. A lot of women can't. Like, it's the endurance and being able to handle the G-forces. And I know people really don't understand that, and there will be people that want to argue with me on that one. But again, it's this has been proven, like throughout military tests for like jet pilots and stuff like that. Generally, females can't handle the G-forces that a man can. And that's not to say, again, it's not to say that that's every woman, because yes, there are women that are pilots, there are women that are astronauts, Danica Patrick. But again, there's a reason why you don't see it all that often, because a lot of women can't handle those kind of G-forces. And a lot of people will argue me, oh, well, it's not, it's not really yeah. Go out to any track or whatever. Go out when they have those little events going on where the driver will take you around the track in that race car. Trust me, it's G-forces. There's a reason why, like in a lot of street rides and stuff like that, when people build up a car or anything like that, you've got those seats that are specifically made to help you deal with G-forces. Because when you're taking corners and turns, and it's at high speeds, that's a lot of G-forces on your, that's a lot of pressure. It really is. So, yes. But, yeah, that's,
It's more of a technique. If you look at other sports like golf, it all requires a lot of technique and a lot of strength. Plus, video games is now starting to make a massive rise. So all of those could definitely have both genders in it with no problem. For swimming especially, if I were to decide that I would like to transition and then start all of the hormone therapy for a year or so, then obviously I would probably lose some muscle mass and I would slow down in my swimming. But I don't know if that slowdown would necessarily be enough to make it fair for the cis females that I'd be competing up against.
No, your slowdown would not be enough.
The danger of it is that you're possibly outing somebody. Mm-hmm. In America alone, there's several places that it's still extremely dangerous to be an open transgender person. To say that you can't perform unless you're in this group, there's just a lot of safety reasons for that individual that it's not good. Second thing, where does the line draw? You're saying swimming, and you had mentioned earlier that like height was an advantage. Did I go through puberty as a male? Yes. But in order to say that I have an advantage because I was born with testosterone is the equivalent of saying that, oh, I went to this gym one time and I lifted and I had a protein shake, so I should never have to take a protein shake again because it's in my body. And the medicine I'm taking stops that testosterone. I don't have that anymore. Like, my entire body, my entire mind, my entire way of thinking is different because of it.
No. See, again, disingenuous argument right there. Notice how this transgender female still has the body of a fucking man. Like, none of that has changed. His body type, or her body type, has not changed at all. Still the body of a man. Still has the body, the build of a man. Not only that, his argument's disingenuous because, oh, now he's on this and whatnot, he's not producing as much testosterone. Well, congratulations, you're right, you're not. But you went through puberty as a man, which means that testosterone has already done its job. You have denser muscle, or you have denser bones, you have larger lungs, you have a larger heart, you have more muscle tissue. Your muscle tissue is tighter. It's all the advantages of going through puberty as a male are already there. So congratulations, you're now blocking your testosterone. Congratulations. I'm happy for you. I'm happy it makes you feel better. I'm happy that you're this and you're that. But that's a disingenuous argument that he's trying to put, that the trans woman is trying to put forward, because, again, went through puberty as a male. Meaning all those advantages are already there. They're already set in. They're already locked in. They locked in when he went through puberty and then transitioned into a trans female. So all that's still there. Number two brings up the fact, and I said it too. There's still places out there where it's not safe for a trans person to be open about it. I give you that. But in the same token, just like those trans females that ran track and took the scholarships and beat out the biological women, they didn't even two of them didn't even have long hair. None of that shit. They hadn't transitioned at all. They just, I'm a trans woman. I feel that I'm a woman, not a guy. But they weren't on hormone blockers. They weren't on any of that. So, yeah, where do we draw the line on that? Like, he's saying, where do we draw the line? Or this trans woman is saying, where do we draw the line on this? Well, where do we draw the line on that? Because those guys, those trans females that ran that track and beat out the biological females for the scholarships and all this, they weren't on hormone blockers. At least two of them didn't even look like females. They just were in the female category competing. So again, the whole, you're outing yourself. Well, guess what? I'm sorry, I can tell you're a trans female. Like, you're outing yourself by playing in the female category. So again, I don't see where that argument has any relevance. Again, now, somebody like Blair White, trans female. Like, honestly, probably. I mean, if I'm honest about it, she looks very much female. She does. But again, Blair White is a trans female, meaning went through puberty as a male, was born a male, not a biological female. And Blair White actually doesn't try to convolute the conversation, doesn't try to hide the fact that trans female doesn't hide the fact that hasn't went and had the surgery to get rid of the dangly bits. None of that has happened. What? Doing a video. Doing a video. But like I said, this is a disingenuous argument in the fact of, like I said, now I get the fact, like I said, there's still places where it's dangerous for trans to come out. I understand that. I get that. But in the same token, when you look like a guy, but you're competing in a female category, you're already outing yourself. So I don't see that argument holding any weight, because it's like you again, these trans females competing in the female category are outing themselves because they're talking about how they're on hormone blockers, how they don't have an advantage, and this and that. So again, they're already outing themselves. So that doesn't hold any weight in this argument. Like and again, why are you arguing so heavily against having your own category? Like, unless you want to be competing against females where you have the advantage. That's the only reason to argue any of this. I mean, again, it's I don't know. I may actually try to send this to Blair White, see if she'll actually speak about it, react to it, something. I think it'd be hilarious to get her opinion on it too.
In America alone, there's several places that it's still extremely dangerous to be an open transgender.
It's not just America alone. There's several places across the world, especially in Arabic and Muslim countries. But moving on.
Person. To say that you can't perform unless you're in this group, there's just a lot of safety reasons for that individual that is not good. Second thing, where does the line draw? You're saying swimming, and you had mentioned earlier that like height was an advantage. Did I go through puberty as a male? Yes. But in order to say that I have an advantage because I was born with testosterone is the equivalent of saying that, oh, I went to this gym one time and I lifted and I had a protein shake, so I should never have to take a protein shake again because it's in my body. And the medicine I'm taking stops that testosterone. I don't have that anymore. Like, my entire body, my entire mind, my entire way of thinking is different because of the medicine I'm on.
Are we going to start making categories for cis athletes? Okay, you're in a category if you're 5'9" and above, 5'7" to 5'9", 5'5" to 5'7", weights, like all those things. It's like, exactly where is the line drawn?
I mean, they do.
Okay, see, and this guy's being disingenuous too. We do have those categories. You have lightweight, welterweight, featherweight, heavyweight, super heavyweight. We have distinguished this in multiple things. In wrestling, you have different weight categories. I'm trying to remember. I really don't think there was any category when it came to like swimming. I know in track there wasn't. But like again, like in sports where it actually does give you an advantage or whatnot, yeah, there are categories for that. We have weight categories. Now height, no, but I mean, honestly, again, dude, either you're good at it or you're not. Like, I mean, look at I don't remember his name, basketball player, short dude. Was he good? Hell yeah, he's great. But was he at a disadvantage against people like Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, Shaq? Well, yeah, he's short. He's at a height disadvantage. He still had the natural talent. He still put in all the work. So yeah, he could still compete, but again, he was at a disadvantage. He had to work to overcome that disadvantage. it again, it is what it is. But like I said, the whole, again, that's why I said earlier, if you remember right before they discussed this, I said that when they first asked this question, I said there should be separate categories for all sporting events. Why? Because if you didn't, it'd muddy the waters and they'd argue about, oh, well, this exactly the arguments they try to bring up. Oh, well, if you're saying that, just this and this, then da da da. No, no, no. Should be separate categories for all sports. Women should not have to compete with somebody who went through puberty as a male. That's why it's the women's division. Just like the men's division. And again, like I said, trans men are at a huge disadvantage if they try and get into male sports. They are. Just is. It's not fair. So, yeah, I think that it should be turned into 4 categories: male, female, trans woman, trans male. That way it's fair across the board. Like and again, the only way around that, and again, it's not that it doesn't, there's not a way around that. I mean, there's not. It's just,
Have weight categories.
Well, yeah, for
like,
certain
yeah.
sports, of course. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think just generally, every person is different. And like you're saying, like the cis women that were getting cut because they're naturally, more athletic to some standard that's set. It's like,
Or even the varying levels of testosterone. Oh,
Exactly.
you're in this box, so now you're in this league.
yeah.
I wasn't by any chance trying to discriminate against them and try and put them in their own category
Yeah.
in that way. It was more just by a performance standpoint. We already do separate everyone into their own different levels. You don't have Olympic athletes coming and competing at state
Club
or
levels.
club levels.
Doesn't that defeat the purpose of trying to become a better athlete then?
If they're trying to work up to a goal, I'm not entirely sure.
So if you're good enough, you're going to be singled out and have to go. There's no proof of any trans athlete that is number 1 in any category right now.
Yeah, that's because I think they're being held back so much by just like the media and everything that you don't get to see their chance to shine in that sense.
What would you guys say?
okay, that is really a dumb argument. They just brought up earlier the fact of the trans female that won Olympic gold and set a record that no biological female will probably ever hit. Oh, they are being spotlighted. Trust me, it's dumb to sit there and say they're not. Just like the whole argument of, like, he had an argument and then he started laughing because she pointed out the fact that there are categories. So he tried to shift his argument a little bit to where, no, again, your argument holds no weight. Like, we do have categories. We do have, and just like they just said, you got pro, you got amateur, you got, like, we have categories for reasons. Like what, I don't remember his name, the dude who's the swimmer. Like he said, you don't have Olympic athletes coming into an amateur swim meet and swimming against amateurs. It's no advantages. Like, again, dumb.
Say to like transgender people who transitioned before puberty?
In that instance, I think I would take a step back and kind of look at it more at like my own argument, like it was a scientifically based on like puberty and stuff. So I would like consider like that would be different, but my mindset just coming into this, I mean, I think that most people go through transitioning like after puberty, or it's like encouraged
more
to.
common.
Yeah.
For me, it's more if they end up just fitting the category, regardless if they do it before puberty or after puberty. If they have the right amount of testosterone, they did all the right testing all beforehand, then why not? Then you don't even need to separate them. They might as well just compete as a trans athlete.
spending too much time prospecting? Introducing Lucia, the perfect tool for any company.
Hormone testing is fair.
Like the Olympics tests, college level tests. I know, like in Texas, at my high school level, the UIL organization, they tested, and you know, it's to keep everybody safe. And I think it's okay to test for hormone levels, and if that's the ultimate, like, you know, conversation here is that we're looking in people for hormone levels as a competition, then why separate men and women? Why are we talking about men and women? We just strictly talk about hormone levels then.
Yeah.
So there is varying levels of testosterone blockers that you can be on. I chose to be on one of the higher ones, but I can guarantee you that someone like me is going to get less of a chance to be cut than a cis female, because my hormones will stay the same, whereas a cis is going to be all over the place depending on all sorts of variables.
I personally think that the hormone testing is really important, and just coming from like a fitness perspective, like fitness, bodybuilding, like that sort of athletics. For me, I take a lot of pride in the fact that my testosterone levels are within the normal range of a cisgender male. Obviously, performance enhancers, right? Steroids, extra testosterone, all those things are thrown around among cisgender men in the fitness world to, you know, enhance their performance, get bigger, all that sort of thing. And for me, being able to say, like, no, I am within the normal range of a cisgender man. The muscle I'm putting on, I'm naturally putting on. I don't have an advantage over anybody else that's in that normal range. So I think for me, like, it's just really important because I'm, like, proud of that. And I think if you just assume that a trans person has an advantage because they're taking testosterone, it's kind of like, well, what about cis men that take testosterone to get bigger and that sort of thing? So
Okay. Again, convoluted argument, but the trans female actually brought up a point that I'm pretty sure didn't mean to bring up, in the fact of males do the same thing. Brought up the fact of natural born women, their hormones will go up and down, like their testosterone will go up and down. Male testosterone does the same thing. It will go up and down. As you get older, your body will start producing less testosterone. As a male, there are natural ways to actually, like, get out, exercise, change your diet, stuff like that will shoot your testosterone back up to what it used to be when you were younger. But they're talking about normal ranges. Guess what? Your body temperature, normal is 98.5, right? 98.6. My body temperature's normal is 97. That's a point and a half off. Everybody's normal is different. What they're actually talking about is not normal, they're talking about averages. Like, average male testosterone is here. Female average testosterone is here. Average body temperatures 98.6. Average, not normal. Because people's normals are different. Just like, my metabolism when I was younger, off the scales. I ate all day long, every day. Didn't matter whether it was junk food, greasy food, healthy food, didn't matter. Ate all day long, couldn't get over 90 pounds soaking wet. When I hit about 12, 13, my metabolism changed. I gained a lot of weight because my eating habits didn't change with my metabolism changing. It happens. Again, there's an average, and then there's normal for, everybody's normal is going to be different. I got a friend of mine, his normal temperature is 99. Like, that's just, like, he runs hot. That's his normal temperature for him. Now again, that's not to say that everybody is going to be at that. No, the average where most people sit is around 98.6, which is why it's the average. just like with hormone rates and with cholesterol rates and with blood pressure and all this stuff. When you go into the doctor, if it's not at a certain number, the doctor's not worried, because as long as you're within the range of the average, like, because again, they have ranges for that. Simply because not everybody is the same. So yeah, um, again, and it's been proven. Like, this trans female here went through puberty as a man. He may have been on the low scale of testosterone. He may have been below average, or she may have been below average for where male testosterone sits. However, still went through puberty as a man. Denser bones, bigger heart, bigger lungs. Um, Muscle structure is different. Again, it all, like I said, they're convoluting the issues. And again, like I said, I really don't understand the whole argument against separate categories. Like, I don't see the issue. We separated men and women because men have advantages over women. We know this, which is why women got their own category, their own sports. Like in tennis, the women don't have to compete against the men. They have their own division. It's a women's division. And I hate to put this out there, but anybody who's a basketball fan, you can put in the WNBA, take their best, and they couldn't compete against the LeBron James and Shaqs, and they're at a disadvantage. That's why they have their own league. And I understand that this trans female is trying to say that when they went through puberty as a male, that yeah, they had testosterone, but now they're on blockers and their testosterone is lower than this, and they're on the highest blocker they can be on, so they produce, like, it doesn't matter. Like, it honestly doesn't. Look at the body, which you can clearly see right there, still has that male body type. It just is what it is. Went through puberty as a male. Those advantages are already there. Whether you put yourself on blockers after the fact or not, those advantages are still there. Now, what Dude brought up earlier well, if you start taking the blockers before puberty, I agree. At that point, yeah, sure. Because your puberty is going to be a lot different. However, again, there's drawbacks in that. And again, if you're not old enough to buy, if you're not, if you have to be 21 to buy cigarettes, to get a gun, to do this, to get alcohol, because you're not old enough to make decisions that are supposedly that important in your life, and you're not fully cognitively grown until you're 21, why are we letting kids at 18 vote? Why are we letting people try and tell us that kids should be able to decide if they want to transition at 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 16? No. Like, that makes no sense. Because if that's the way it is, then at whatever age they want to set for that, that's whenever you should be able to go out and buy alcohol. That's when you should be able to buy cigarettes. That's when you should be able to go out and buy a gun. Because obviously you're adults enough to make your own decisions, right? Like, that's just, Again, I don't mind. Again, if that's the way you want to live your life, go for it. I have no issue with that. Now, I would say to wait till you're around 18, 20-ish before you decide to transition, because, again, there are a bunch of stories out there of trans people de-transitioning because got older and realized, well, no. So, yeah, I would say give it a minute. But again, to each their own. But again, like I said, here their arguments hold no weight. They're not like they're acknowledging facts. They're acknowledging this, and then they're trying to argue over here in left field instead of right here in the center where the discussion is. It doesn't make sense. Like your arguments don't hold up. Like it's.
Like the Olympics tests, college level tests. I know, like in Texas, at my high school level, the UIL organization, they tested, and it's to keep everybody safe. And I think it's okay to test for hormone levels, and if that's the ultimate, conversation here is that we're looking in people for hormone levels as a competition, then why separate men and women? Why are we talking about men and women? We just strictly talk about hormone levels then.
Yeah.
So there is varying levels of testosterone blockers that you can be on. I chose to be on one of the higher ones, but I can guarantee you that someone like me is going to get less of a chance to be cut than a cis female because my hormones will stay the same, whereas a cis is going to be all over the place depending on all sorts of variables.
I personally think that the hormone.
Now, notice how, in the same argument, he sat down for hormone testing is fair, but he just pointed out the fact that hormone levels in natural men and natural women, without any kind of blocker, will sit there and go up and down like waves. Like that's just a natural thing. Your body, I mean, it's natural for your body to sit there and vary, but depending on what you're eating, what you're doing, if you're powerlifting, this and that, your body is going to produce more testosterone, even in females, to fuel what you're doing. Like if you're in the gym 24/7, guess what? You're probably producing more testosterone because your body's on that schedule. It's producing what you need to actually do what you're doing, which is you in the gym trying to live, building on muscle. Your body's giving the testosterone so that way the body can build on that new muscle and expand the muscle. That's what the body does. So no, the testing for hormone things, that's not fair. It's stupid. And again, it's just something they started because of the whole trans thing. And I know people argue me, they were testing before. No, they weren't testing hormones before. They were testing for enhancement stuff like steroids, and they were testing for hormones to where normal range is here to here, and they wouldn't throw you off a team if you were above a normal range by this or that. Now if you were 50 100 points above what the normal is, or what the average, not as to say normal, but it's not really normal. If you're above that little set area of averages, if you're just a bit above it, or 20 points above it or whatever, that could just be because of eating, being in the gym, anything like that, exercise, yoga, blah blah blah. Could be any of those factors. They wouldn't kick you off a team. Now again, if you're 100 points, 150 points, 200 points above where the average, between where those averages are, yeah, they might look into, are you taking testosterone? Are you, because at that point, it's not to say that it couldn't be a natural thing. It's just odd. It could still be a natural thing, but the possibility or the chances of that being a natural thing are rare. So again, yeah, I mean, they're going to look at to make sure that you're not taking stuff to enhance your performance and to whatnot. But yeah, no, hormone testing is that being that's the dumbest argument I've heard. It really is, because that's no. Now again, I'm not going to say anything about them testing and the fact of to make sure that you're not juicing and whatnot. Yeah, I'm okay with that. But as in a testing to see if, because like he said, natural women are more likely to be cut off a team than him because he's on a hormone blocker. His hormones are never gonna. Well, the trans female there, their hormones are never gonna be like they're never gonna shoot up like above a certain point. Like they're always gonna be like their hormones are probably gonna stay at a steady level place because they're on the hormone blockers. Therefore, their body is not a basically what this trans female is doing is keeping is same thing as if like you got acid reflux and you take an acid blocker. Keeps your stomach from producing stomach acid. So basically you're stop like they're stopping they're you're stopping your body from producing testosterone. You're so yeah, no. Like that's again that's a dumb argument. It's not fair because naturally your hormones are gonna peak and valley. They're gonna do the whole ride. I mean, it just depends. Now again, like I said, if you go in and get a test or whatever, and you're 150, 200, 300 points above where the average is, yeah, at that point they're gonna look at you. They're probably gonna cut you from the team, or they're gonna, do an investigation, or they're gonna whatever they're gonna do. Even if it's watching you closely and retesting you in a couple weeks to see if your hormones drop off rapidly. They'll know that you've been taking testosterone or something else to boost to give you that boost. So, I mean, that's what they're looking for. But yeah, as in is it fair? No, it's not. Because, again, the thing that the trans woman there is not taking into account is the fact of, again, flat out said, went through puberty as a male, but now I'm on the hormone blockers. It doesn't matter. You've already got the advantages of going through puberty as a male. So therefore, your hormones staying at a steady level doesn't matter. You still already have all the advantages of going through puberty as a male. It's already there. It's already happened. So yeah.
Hormone testing is really important, and just coming from like a fitness perspective, like fitness, bodybuilding, like that sort of athletics. For me, I take a lot of pride in the fact that my testosterone levels are within the normal range of a cisgender male. Obviously, performance.
And again, why would you take pride in the fact of your testosterone's within a normal range? That's oh boo boo. That make my head hurt. That's not something that you can control. Not without drugs. Again, your hormones are like they're gonna peak. They're gonna valley. They're gonna that's part of the human body. I mean, it just is what it is. Just like there are people, guys, as they get older, their body stops producing testosterone, and even change their diet, working out more, whatnot. Their body still just isn't producing the testosterone, which is why doctors will put you on testosterone to get you back to that normal range of testosterone because it improves your health. Your body needs to be within that range of testosterone to help you keep off weight, to help you keep your muscle mass, to help you put on more muscle mass if that's what you're trying to do. Those are all things that doctors take into consideration when they're looking at what's going on. So yeah, that's anyways.
Performance enhancers, right? Steroids, extra testosterone, all those things are thrown around among cisgender men in the fitness world to, enhance their performance, get bigger, all that sort of thing. And for me, being able to say like, no, I am within the normal range of a cisgender man. The muscle I'm putting on, I'm naturally putting on. I don't have an advantage over anybody else that's in that normal range. So I think for me, like, it's just really important because I'm like proud of that. And I think if you just assume that a trans person has an advantage because they're taking testosterone, it's kind of like, well, what about cis men that take testosterone to get bigger? And
Okay, again, disingenuous argument. We've already talked about the fact, it was already brought up in this discussion that they're talking about. Trans men are at a disadvantage, testosterone or not. So again, it's a disingenuous argument. Like they all admitted earlier that, oh, well, yeah, because we're talking about going through puberty as a male. Your testosterone is higher. You're, and it, denser bones, larger heart, larger lungs. Your muscle mass is different. All these things happen during puberty. So, yeah, no, that's making my head hurt. Seriously.
in testosterone, it's kind of like, well, what about cis men that take testosterone to get bigger and that sort of thing? So.
How you doing, man?
Testing for hormones is fine. The issue is what you're going to do with that, because as I said earlier, it's really hard to put someone in a box because there's always averages here and there for male and female, but especially when you start making your way up in the competition pool, those norms go out the window, and it then gets even more difficult to write legislation on what a male can compete in and what a female can compete in for if their hormone levels are outside of this said box.
I'm fine as a trans athlete being tested. If I need to prove to the world that like I'm the better athlete at the end of the day, go ahead and take my medical information. I don't care. Like I'm just trying to live my truth. That's all I'm trying to do.
A cis female
See, there you go. There you go with that stupid argument. My truth. No. That is the dumbest statement. I mean, it's about like, again, me and my friend joke about it when I was younger. We say it all the time. I didn't realize how dumb I was saying it, but it's like, used to have people say this or that about me. And I graduated military school at 16, went straight into the military at 16, so my mom signed me over. It was basically like an emancipation. Instead of having to go to court, my mom just signed a document saying that I was my own keeper and that she was no longer my parental guardian, blah, blah. Anyways, but yeah, I was out doing stuff or whatever. Somebody say something to me because I was younger. And I, especially if it was something that annoyed me, pissed me off, or whatever. It's like, dude, I'm a grown-ass man. That is the stupidest statement. Because I really wasn't a grown man yet. Like, I was still developing. Just like, I didn't consider, like, honestly, looking back on it, I don't really consider myself, my younger years, to have been an adult till I was about 25, 26-ish. And I started changing the way I thought about stuff. Started changing, my maturity changed. I mean, and again, it's not to say that everybody is going to be in their mid to late 20s before it happens, because no. Again, some people mature faster than others. It happens. But no, that's the whole my truth thing. No, I don't care. Your feels and your truth doesn't beat the facts. Like, no. And again, you're okay getting tested. That's fine, boo-boo. Get tested. But that doesn't prove anything. Because, like, the only guy who didn't come up for this, hormone testing experiment, like, he had a good argument when he sat down. Again, somebody who knows, I mean, hopefully he knows, he may just be arrogant. But again, you start working out, you start training, and you start doing different stuff, and you start eating differently. You start doing this, and you start getting your metabolism to go back into hyperactive mode. Start doing all this stuff. Guess what? Your testosterone levels are going to shoot up, and they're going to peak and valley depending on what you're doing. And like, this is what bodybuilders count on. And Again, that's not to say because they're that do is right. There are bodybuilders out there that will take steroids. They'll they'll get a hold of, whether it's through a doctor or somebody else who's got testosterone through a doctor because their testosterone is low and their doctor wants to get their testosterone back up into an average level. They'll take that testosterone to boost their own so that way they can put on more muscle mass quicker because it puts their body into that mode of build mode. That's what they're, that's, and again, that's called a performance enhance. You're using it to enhance your performance. Now, yes, on that is an unfair thing. I don't think, I'm okay with them testing for that to see, to make sure that everybody's, but again, every doctor will tell you that people are going to dip and valley and go up and go down and everywhere in between when it's natural, because it's just going to happen when it's a natural thing. Your body will produce more, or on your off days or whatnot, or you pulled a hammy, you tore a ligament, you did whatever. Well, you can't be in the gym, you can't be working out, you can't be running, you can't be doing this. You're sitting there resting, you're healing. Guess what? Your testosterone levels are going to drop because your body will stop producing mass amounts of it because you're not using it for the building block anymore. You're again, natural. It's natural that your testosterone goes up and down. That's completely natural. And again, some people are going to be above where that norm line is. Some people are going to be below where that norm line is. Everybody's a little bit different. When they test for that stuff, what they're looking for is people that are way over that normal. Again, you're 100 points, 200 points, whatever above it. Yeah, doctors are going to look at you and try to, because again, that being a natural thing, it's going to be rare. That's going to be, more than likely that's going to be somebody who's taking steroids or testosterone or whatever to enhance. So, yeah, dude, it's,
It's competing in a high level of track might have a normal male testosterone, so now are you going to kick them out because now their testosterone levels are too high? And that's where legislation can get really difficult to write.
I am treated fairly by my fellow athletes.
I joined roller derby only like 4 months after I decided to transition and get onto hormones. Everyone from the beginning was very accepting. Roller derby is almost too accepting from my experience because I forgot how bad the real world can be sometimes. Not everyone is going to be, but my personal experience has been very positive.
Growing up, in my club, I trained with my brother, and we were like kind of in the distance group, so it was mostly guys there, and they never really saw me as like she's a girl, they just saw me as like another competitor, and it was always just fun, like racing, and like it just made me grow up love being in the sporting world and being competitive with everyone, so yeah.
I definitely get a lot of hate like online, but I've never personally gotten any like issues. Like everyone that's in the gym is just trying to get better for the most part. Obviously that kind of communal idea is really like helpful as far as me not getting so much hate.
Lonely times.
When in high school, when I came out like prominently, everybody knew that I was trans, and there was a coach that exploited me in a lawsuit to try to ban me in high school. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Wow.
I was on hormone blockers, and it was suppressing my estrogen and testosterone. And even though everybody knew who I was, when it came to like after junior high, when he did that, it was so aggressive. Parents would scream from the stands that they wanted to hurt me. As being a trans man, and just in my life in general, my family doesn't come from much, and we work very hard. And I'm like the first generation to try to become something. So, I mean, the haters.
Yeah, I will for you, man.
Yeah.
Now wait
Businesses come in all different shapes and sizes.
No. Hold up. That's a trans man. But didn't they say at the beginning of this that they were beating Um, well, boo boo, you're competing against girls, and if you're born a girl, yeah, you're on an even playing field. And I still beat some of the boys. So yeah, again, not to say that females can't beat guys in some sports, but again, on a general thing, again, guys have an unfair advantage. I will have to go back and look at the beginning of this video because I thought that was a guy. But if it's a trans man, then that does explain his saying that, oh, well, I beat all the females. Well, or I beat females all the time. Well, yeah, you were on a level playing field, female, female. I mean, it's. Anyways.
Sports should be gender neutral.
No.
Your body's a vessel. It shouldn't matter whether you're male or female, because I feel like the sport, like sports in general, is growing. Especially there's this like little girl in wrestling. She wrestled in the junior division and in wrestling and nationals in the 106 pound division, and she kicked all the guys' asses.
Yeah.
I was like, go for you. So I feel like as the sport's growing, as we're evolving as a society and we're being very progressive, that it should get to the point if we're talking about gender neutral bathrooms, why can't we talk about gender neutral sports?
I actually rode and showed equestrian for 10 years, and I was like one of two men at the time. And then there are other roller derby leagues that are co-ed, and they work fine. Like women are going up against men, and they're bashing each other, and they're like going at it. There's a lot of things, and I feel like sports are one of these things where it's like it has to be this or it has to be that. The same as gender. It has to be this or it has to be that, and it's not.
For me, the issue that I would start seeing with this is when we start looking at scholarships. And for college level, if you start combining the sports by gender, then scholarships are always given to the top athletes. What happens to the females that now need that scholarship necessarily to go to college, but now you've just all thrown them into one category? It all of a sudden breaks that whole opportunity for them to maybe even go to college, because now they've been training to be able to provide for themselves in college. And now, since it's all one level playing field, maybe they can beat the males, but on average, they probably won't be able to, especially depending on the sport.
So trans athletes aren't even getting scholarships either.
Again, that's bullshit. Just pointed out the 3 transgender females that did the track that ran in female division and got scholarships over the actual natural born females.
I'm a 2-time state champion in high school. Didn't get a scholarship. And I just now been able to get my scholarship 3 years into being on a male team.
Yeah. But we're talking like
Again. Okay. Again, been in college for a while. Talking about just now 3 years able to get your. So, been in college for 3 years, just now able to get the scholarship for being on the male wrestling team as a transgender male. And when this trans male was talking about back in high school and stuff, was competing in the female division because at the time probably couldn't compete in the male division as transgender. However, moving past that, they flat out said at the very beginning they beat the women and they sometimes beat the male wrestlers. So, yeah, I mean, if you weren't, again, and not only that, like, to get wrestling scholarships is not like football or basketball or, soccer, or, even hockey. Like, wrestling, while it is a big thing, it's not a major sport like, again, like the football, basketball. Like tennis is a major sport. You're not gonna hear about that many people getting a scholarship for tennis. It's not a mainstream thing like football, basket. Like those are your two, football and basketball. Those are your two big ones. Baseball. Again, another big one, but it still doesn't compete with football and basketball when it comes to college level stuff. I mean, are there college level baseball teams? Yes. But your two big sports in college are football, basketball. So, yeah, most of their sports scholarships are going to go to that. Again, there's people who get scholarships for track. There's people who get scholarships for swimming. All this stuff. But again, it's not as big as football and basketball. Those are your two biggest things. So as a wrestler, to get a scholarship to college, yeah, you've really got to stand out. So, again, it's a disingenuous argument that this transgender male is trying to bring up. Because, yeah, like, I mean, again, like now he's on competing with the males 3 years into college. He's state level championship like that. Cool. But again, like that's not, those aren't things that a lot of colleges will actually put money back for scholarships in those things unless they're you've really got to stand out. Like as a swimmer, you've really got to stand out. As you know, track, you've really got to stand out. Swimming, again, you've really got to stand out. But yeah, I mean, it's like most of your scholarship money is going to go towards the big two, which is football and basketball. I mean, they're band scholarships, but again, most of that money is even like unless you're talking about like Atlanta, A&T, like the big band schools. Like yeah, they have a lot of scholarships they put towards like band and stuff like that. Because that's a big band college. I mean, their bands are competing, like showing out national level. You know what I'm saying? Like they're, you know, shit. That's like I could probably name off everybody who gets a scholarship for Arkansas Razorbacks, Trojans, stuff like that. I can probably name off a lot of those scholarships. I couldn't name off a lot of scholarships that I know of people getting scholarships to UALR or any of the colleges around here that get it for swimming, track and field, or for wrestling. I mean, that's not a trans thing. That's an area thing. Like there are some colleges there that have big followings when it comes to wrestling. But again, if you come from an area where you're going to college at this state, that may not be a wrestling state. Like that may, you know, again, two, like throughout all states, two major things: football, basketball. Now other states again are going to have hockey teams, whatnot, that are national level. That college puts money back for those type of college teams because national level. They're known. I mean, that's that college is big for hockey. That college is big for swimming. That college is big for track and field. But if you're talking about a college that isn't big for that, then yeah, it's going to be hard to get a scholarship in that sport. It's just kind of the way it is.
Hypothetically, in the perfect world, if sports was gender neutral.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's all hypothetical.
Yeah.
Everything's hypothetical in a sense because we don't have enough analytical data.
I feel as though making all sports gender neutral in that way, there is still some biological benefits to being born a man versus being born a female.
I just can't get over the fact that there are going to be all these very obvious differences, not advantages, but just differences in if we had gender neutral sports.
It's not going to be a co-ed team versus an all-male team. it's going to be a co-ed team versus a co-ed team. So I feel like there would still be strategy that would have to be played into it.
I'm thinking more like individually.
Yeah, individual. And I can see like where you're coming from that. And you mentioned wrestling earlier. Just the whole combat sport community in general does have a long way to go. Definitely not completely supportive of trans athletes, but in a sense of like when I've noticed in just like studying of how like female athletes are and male athletes are, the best like MMA female athletes, cis, have male training partners. And most of the time, like, they're kicking their ass unless, like, they're training.
That is a disingenuous argument. Go and watch any of the MMA fights with that trans woman, don't know the name, completely brutalizes the actual biological females that get in the octagon and fight with that trans woman. Like, it's brutal to watch. Again, like it's dumb. That's a completely disingenuous argument. Yes, do they have male trainers? Well, hell yeah, they do. But again, in training, that their male trainers aren't trying to. They're teaching them. They're training them. It's not an actual fight. So that's a disingenuous argument. Same thing with a male having male trainers. Guess what? That male trainer isn't trying to fucking hurt you. They're teaching you. Like, if they were trying to hurt you, like, in an actual fight, it would be dumb because you'd never be able to get into the octagon and actually fight because you'd be injured all the time. Their job is to get you better at fighting, to train you in technique, to train you in stamina, to get your muscle built up, to do this. They're not actually fighting you trying to beat you. Just like when you get in the ring and spar. Guess what? It's sparring. It's not an all-out fight. Like, whoever's there to spar with you so you can get in the training, you can get in the stamina work, you can get in the feel for it. And my grandpa could have told you this before he passed away. He was a Golden Gloves. Even in boxing and sparring and whatnot, your sparring partner is not trying to hurt you, is not trying to put you on the mat. They're trying to build up your stamina. They're trying to build up your fortitude. They're helping you to build that stuff up. But they're not there trying to hurt you like when you get into the real ring and that bell rings and your opponent, they're trying to beat you into the mat. Like, that's a disingenuous, stupid argument. Like, your trainers are not there to try and beat you up. They're there to train you, to educate you, to get you better, to give you the technique, to give you the timing, to get your mindset into knowing what to do in a certain thing, or somebody gets you in a chokehold, how, what options you have to try and get the hell out of it, how you try and orientate yourself when you're on the ground and pinned, all that stuff, that's training. And that's a real disingenuous argument coming from somebody who's supposed to be an athlete who goes through training on a daily basis for wrestling. Like, that's disingenuous. Like, again, when you're wrestling and you're training with somebody, like when you get into the clutch up, guess what? Yeah, they're going to resist and they're going to try and keep you from getting out of that clutch. And they're going to try and do this. But they're not going full out with it. Their purpose is to be there so you can figure out how to get out of those locks, how to move, how to twist in a way to where you can get loose. They're teaching you. They're there so you can learn the technique. So yeah, that's a completely asinine, disingenuous argument.
Or unless they have somebody that's better than them to push them, and then that's just making them a better athlete.
In my opinion, like, kids are extremely accepting. I have two gorgeous kids, and it's so cool to have them play on a playground and explain to their new friends who I am, and like watch them do that. And their kids, like their friends, will be like, "Oh, okay," But you talk to an adult, and they're like, because you have this instilled, like what you were saying, this instilled education from the time you were born that has basically said that, no, this is wrong. You have to have this group, you have to have this group, you have to have this group. Like, I do talk about it a lot with people, but I have to understand that it's not my responsibility to educate everyone. Like, I have to be able to cross that line where it's like, mentally, I can't do it anymore. Like, I need to step back for a little bit. But like you said, like,
Yeah, kids are completely accepting and understanding unless you're a jackass. Just like go to any playground. Guess what? Kids will play with any other kid. Like racism is not something you're born with. It's something that you're taught. Like as a kid, you quite literally you don't see Latin, uh, black. You don't see like it's just a different skin color, but you don't see it as that. You just they're different. Moving right along, or that's cool, or whatever. It's not until you get older, and it's not until like parents that are racist or whatever teach them those type of ideas that happens. And like him or that trans female trying to say, "Oh, it's not my no." That's just again. It should be a conversation, and it should be this, and it shouldn't be that. And like you like let me hold on. Let me go back.
saying this instilled education from the time you were born that has basically said that no, this is wrong. You have to have this group, you have to have this group, you have to have this group. Like I do talk about it a lot with people, but I have
Making them a better athlete.
in my opinion, like kids are extremely accepting. I have two gorgeous kids, and it's so cool to have them play on a playground and explain to their new friends who I am, and like watch them do that. And their kids, like their friends, will be like, "Oh, okay," But you talk to an adult, and they're like, because you have this instilled, like what you were saying, this instilled education from the time you were born that has basically said that no, this is wrong. You have to have this group. You have to have this group. You have to have this group. Like I do talk.
Again, no. I mean, I grew up in a different era. And the funny thing is, you would think growing up the way I did, like single mother, whatnot, went and lived with my grandpa when I got too much for mom to handle. Lived out in the country. Met some really racist people out there. However, in the same token, like, may have been racist, but they'd invite, if somebody broke down and they were black or whatever, call them a tow truck. They'd make sure they had some water. If it was hot outside, invite them in, whatnot. Just weird to me, growing up, because I couldn't understand how you could be racist but still be, anyways. But yeah, they had a lot of respect. Now again, they would still say nasty things and whatnot. It just drove me nuts. But like this whole thing, like this trans woman's trying to say, oh well, this and that. No, like I didn't grow up being told that this and this and this and this. Now going to church, yeah, there were some things said. Like again, best friend was gay. Didn't bother me, even though I went to church and the Bible has some strong views on that. But again, that's his life, not mine. So how am I gonna like not like him and not be his friend just because he was gay? And I understand where some of the stigma comes from, and I understand there's some people that believe in religious beliefs that oh well, they're gay. I'm not gonna talk to them. Da 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 blah 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 blah. No, like they take a different view on things. Like Jesus was accepting everybody, criminal, blah blah. Like so again, that's the way I've tried to live. And I have issues with certain things. I have issues with certain other things. There's a lot of that stuff out there. Now, but like I said, even growing up in the I'm old. I grew up in the past. I wasn't taught that this and that and da da da. No. Now I grew up understanding facts and the differences between female and male, and the differences between puberty for a male and a puberty for a female, and the advantages that a male gets physically when it comes to puberty and stuff like that. I grew up. I understood why females had their own their own leagues, and like there was they had their own categories. It wasn't this, they weren't forced to try and compete with males. Just like growing up, when I grew up, when we had to do the bullshit PE and still had to go up a rope in the gym and shit like that. Guess what? Males were expected to go all the way up to a damn piece of tape near the damn roof, whereas females had a piece of tape on the rope or on the ropes, there was a second piece of tape that was about halfway, and that was all that females were expected to go up to. Now, were there some females that could go all the way up to the rope that the guys did? Yeah. Again, it's not to say that some females can't have athleticism or can't be very good or have natural talent. They can. The conversation is about advantages and disadvantages towards somebody being transgender. Just like the trans female there brought up the fact of, well, if you're saying that we have advantages as a trans female, then you're, then about trans males. Yeah, trans males are at a disadvantage if they try and get into male sports, because again, they didn't go through puberty as a man. They don't have the larger heart. They don't have larger lungs. They don't have the denser muscles. They don't have the muscle mass that a male does. So yeah, it's
Talk about it a lot with people, but I have to understand that it's not my responsibility to educate everyone. Like, I have to be able to cross that line where it's like, mentally, I can't do it anymore. Like, I need to step back for a little bit. But like you said, ask questions. Like, if you're genuine, as long as I know it's not malicious,
Yeah.
ask a question. Don't freaking ask me about my genitals. Like,
Yeah.
that's none of your freaking
Be
business.
respectful.
I just want to know, have you guys ever had, you were talking about your scholarship. Do you guys feel like you have less opportunity in the sense of, competitions and, scholarships just because you guys are trans?
When COVID started, roller derby, since then, has not gotten back together. So I lost my sport, which was something that was, really kept my brain in focus and, centered me. So I got into powerlifting. I lift because I enjoy it, but I don't even try and compete just because people are gonna I don't want the backlash from it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's gotten for me to that point a little bit. A couple of years ago, it was all too much, and it took my coach was fortunate and supported me through my academic journey, and he was like, if you feel like you can't do this anymore, as long as you got good grades, and when we're being asked in high school, when we're gonna be competing on a high level, the first thing that comes out of a recruiter's mouth is, what are your grades, not how good you are.
I think I just learned a lot. I loved hearing all of y'all stories, and I feel sad that you guys feel oppressed sometimes and don't even try.
I hope this educates people.
Yeah.
People can find middle ground.
Yeah, I think they should have better people on the panels, because but yeah, there you go. But yeah, like I said, it needs to be an open civil discussion. And that trans female seemed to be open to an actual discussion. But again, a lot of the arguments that they were using were disingenuous arguments, or stating something else that wasn't actually the question or the topic that they were on, but going to the side of that topic and talking about something from another. No, that's stay on the topic. So yeah. But anyways, that is what it is. When was it? Hour and a half. Wow. And that video was how long? 20-minute video. Spent an hour and a half sitting here talking and reacting to it. But anyways, kind of important to talk about this kind of stuff, and it really needs to be an open dialogue. Because otherwise, we're never going to figure anything out. We're just going to sit there and dig our heels in on both sides and argue and argue and argue about it. But again, like I said, excuse me, I believe that it should be 2 new categories added. That way they have their own division to actually compete in, and you're not taking away the opportunities from natural born women. You're also not having trans females come in and break records and set records that haven't been broken in years by female athletes. Like, but again, like I said, that's neither here nor there. I got into talking about it, and like I said, yeah, it should be all sports, not just some, because as we saw in that video, when you try to say some sports, it got off under the weeds of, well, da 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 this, da 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 that. Well, if you're going to say that this sport has to be separated in da da da, then why not? No, it needs to be all sports. So that way there's no argument. Like, there's transgender, and then there's biological male and female. So you'd have 4 categories. Everybody on a level playing field. Everybody equal in what they're competing and who they're competing with. So yeah, I mean, that's just the way it needs to be. Anyways, feel free to leave any comments. I'll respond to them as I see them. If you just want to call me names or whatever, you can leave that too. I don't really care. I probably won't respond to you, but if you actually want to ask real questions and have an open dialogue, fully willing to respond to you and actually discuss with you. I don't think you'll change my mind on a lot of things, but I'm open to open civil discussion, and who knows, you might change my mind on some things, maybe not others, but or at least give me new information to work off of and base things on. But like I said, for me, it comes down to a lot of facts. I don't care what your truth is. I don't care what your feels are. Your truth and your feels don't beat facts. Like, facts are facts. That's why they call it facts. But yeah. Anyways, you guys have a good day out there. Be safe. Stay away from the plague, obviously. And live a happy, healthy life. Take it easy.